Comic Book Savant, Binge at Your Leisure, TV Talk. Welcome back to the Comic Book Savant podcast. I'm your host, James Harris. This episode of Binge at Your Leisure, we're going to be talking about WandaVision episode 3. In this episode, we're now in the, 70s era, definitely heavily influenced by the Brady Bunch. I'm loving the crazy opening sequences, which is different and kind of lets you know what show they're pulling the inspiration from the opening of the show and from the set design of the house, which is definitely, this is the Brady Bunch house. We've seen it from photos and little snippets that we've seen in the trailers before the show was released. So you could definitely know where this episode drew, what show it drew its influences for this episode. I have to say right off the bat that the key principal actors for this episode was mainly Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, and Teyonah Parris. They really brought their A game, showing their range from slapstick comedy to dramatic to scary, concerned, like suspenseful. And I'm not too familiar with Teyonah Parris before this, to be honest. I don't know what she's done before. I haven't really looked it up. But this is my first real exposure to her as an actress. And I have to say, she is amazing. She does a great job. And we've seen snippets of it in her appearances in the different episodes of, I think it was episode 2, we were first introduced to her. And when Wanda asked her, when she introduced herself, she was like, "What's my name?" And she was like, I don't know, and I don't know what I'm doing here. And where she goes from, like, she's really smiley and happy, like the having the whole facade that everyone else has in that world, and then like that frightened look she's on her face. She sells it so well. It kind of makes your hair stand up. It's like, what's going on? Why doesn't she know? And you get more of that in this episode, and she does it so extremely well. Also, what I've noticed throughout the series, and it's even spotlighted a little bit more in this episode, is how talented a comedic actor that Paul Bettany is. Some of the first movies that I saw him in were comedies or romantic comedies. Two of my favorite movies that I know him from is A Knight's Tale, which was the first movie I think I ever saw him in that I can remember, and then Wimbledon, which is a romantic comedy with Kirsten Dunst that he did some years later once he started establishing a name in Hollywood for himself, that he did. That's like one of my favorite romantic comedies of all time. So you kind of forget that because he went on and he's done so much stuff, and then coming into his own as a superstar, as most of these MCU actors have become in their roles that they've become so synonymous with. But I think that comedic side is forgotten, and I'm like, well, man, a lot of his early work he played bit comedy roles and he excelled in them. So it's good to see that side of him again, and it's like hand to glove. It just fits perfectly. Again, can't speak enough about Teyonah and her role as Geraldine is the name she gave in the world. Outstanding. Can't wait to see more of her going forward in the MCU as Monica Rambeau, and see how pivotal she's going to be in Phase 4, because I think she's going to be. We already know from interviews and such from Feige that this is not her only appearance. I don't know if she's gonna show up in the Miss Marvel series at all. I think they said she might show up there, but definitely she's going to be in Captain Marvel too. So we're definitely going to be seeing more of her, and I can't wait to see more of her character. We do start seeing the build on the reveal of something more sinister afoot. I talked about it in a previous episode that we've seen little tidbits. It's building up with each episode, that more and more. Definitely by the end of the episode, it really kind of comes to a head when Monica, aka Geraldine, um, asks, well, makes the statement about her brother. She start getting some of her memories back, and she said, "Yeah, your brother was murdered by Ultron," and we start seeing a sinister side to Wanda. She gets very defensive and gets very aggressive, which ends with that scene we see from the trailers with Monica being thrown out forcefully through the whatever we're gonna call Westville. It definitely looks like it's a town that exists in the current MCU, current day MCU as we know it, but some force field or force is around it. And she's being, you see her flying through it where she lands on the grass, which we've seen that scene hundreds of times in that trailer, where she lands and she's like out of sorts and she turns and like kind of looks to the camera like she's out of it. And then all the vehicles like pull up to her, and that's how the episode ends. But just in that scene and just seeing how Wanda has been so happy, and then that once the twins are born and they're alone, you get the build up of the suspense on outside where Agnes is talking to was it Herbert or Herb outside. They're talking at the gate, and they start giving hints to Vision that maybe Geraldine is not the safest person to be alone with Wanda and the kids and the boys, and it's a bunch of tension and suspension like built up around that, and they're legitimately frightened. And Herb, I hope I'm remembering his name right, is about to tell Vision like about what's wrong there, and it was like she knows why we're here, and he's in, and then Agnes stops him and says stop it, which reminded me of the very first episode of where the boss's wife, when he's choking, she keeps saying to him over and over again, stop it, stop it. Agnes kind of repeats it kind of in that same cadence to her when he's about to reveal to Vision what's wrong. And we get another visual clue of, we see like the tape glitches in this episode where Vision starts to question Wanda about something not being right in this world, and something weird is going on. And I forgot to mention this the last episode, where we get the one scene where they go outside, they hear a noise outside, and they go outside and they see the whole beekeeper, which was a really big in the trailers that they did. They kept showing that scene over and over again, and in that scene we saw that more than likely when Vision start questioning who is that person, and I think Wanda says no, and then you literally see the scene rewind to before they go outside, and then they don't go outside, so they never see the beekeeper come out from the manhole cover. It's something similar but slightly different, because you definitely get the feeling in episode 2 when that happens, Wanda has control over that rewinding of time, and it leading in a different direction where they don't go outside. Here it's like a jump cut, so it's kind of subtle where you kind of got to rewind it to be like, is it, if you're streaming, like, hey, is it my connection, is it the show, because they play up the aesthetic of, it has the grain that, or whatever effect on the picture to make it look like it's of the era that is portraying from that sitcom. So I definitely, it's definitely something more to that. But I feel like we're in the episode 2 where that was Wanda controlled. I'm not 100% sure. Was it her controlling it this time? Because we got the very specific effect of she was control of the rewinding. This, I'm not quite sure. It was like kind of like in the Matrix. Was that a safety protocol because he was asking too many questions and she was getting worried, and it was, it might wake her from whatever trance or spell that she might be under. So that was one thing that I really missed out on the last episode that I wanted to touch upon, that this just jarred my memory to it. Also, I do feel like maybe that we saw the reveal, especially how quickly Wanda turned on the defense towards Geraldine, aka Monica, when she made the comment about her about Pietro, when she brought him up about her being a twin, and she was having that whole moment when she was looking at the boys and she start doing the lullaby, and she start, I guess, in Sokovian, the Sokovian language. And she made that comment about, yeah, Ultron murdered your brother, and she said, what did you say? And she just really got hyper defensive and got like, and you saw like the reveal of this dark side of Wanda, and we know her powers are very much tied to her emotion. We've seen it, outburst of it, in Age of Ultron, when she feels her brother dies, the outburst of emotion she has, and how her powers like spiked. And we've seen it, when she ripped, Ultron's heart out, that he does have a dark side to her. So we're really seeing it kind of played up a little bit more in this episode, and it starts to definitely build on. It's definitely something more sinister to foot, and it starts to me anyway to look like maybe Wanda is less of a victim of circumstance and could be more of a creator of said circumstance. But we do know it's other players at hand. We get more of a reveal of Sword as a play. We've had little hints, but it's directly kind of revealed in this episode with Monica with the necklace with the sword emblem on it, and her seeing that when they have this confrontation about the comment she made. Then she quickly forgets she made the comment before, like I said, Wanda unceremoniously ejects Monica out of her Westville, or the Westville we're seeing portrayed, and we see her jettison out. But we do see on the other side, when she comes through the portal or force field or what have you, that you see on the opposite side, it is a Westville sign as well. So did she take over a portion of this town? Was still so much we need to see. I do hope in the next episode that we get more from the perspective of Sword and where Monica landed, or maybe we get we get an episode showing everything we've seen in the first 3 episodes from the perspective of the opposite side of the field, and of Sword, and what they're doing and what their true objective is, and how did Monica get in there in the first place, because it didn't seem like she had any clear-cut objective. She was just aimlessly in there. So I'm really curious to see that perspective, and I hope we get that next episode. I've enjoyed the whole sitcom-y vibe of the episodes, and this was a really fun and really funny episode, but I want more of the bigger mystery, considering that we only get about 25 to 27 minutes each week in each episode. I want the story to progress more, to see, because we know Sword plays a part in this. We know it's Monica. We know it's what's his name, James Wong from Ant-Man. He's in it. We know Darby's in it. So I want to start seeing these other players, because we only have at this point now 6 more episodes to go. So I want the story to kind of pick up a little bit, so we can broaden the scope of this the show some, and start getting a little bit more of that the bigger mystery revealed at this point. So as far as my rating of this episode, I gave the acting a 10 out of 10, casting 10 out of 10, direction 8 out of 10, special effects 10 out of 10, and story a 9 out of 10. Overall rating 9.5 out of 10, a little bit lesser than last week. We had 2 episodes to go on, and they played well off one another with just having this one episode. I do think the direction, again, I would have liked more in the way of revealing a little bit more at this point. I understand it's a slow burn, and that's what I feel, but with having such a limited amount of time and only so many episodes left, I feel like they need to pick it up just a skosh. But that's just my opinion of it. I don't know how you guys feel. Let me know. You can always hit me up. If you're not a part of the Facebook group, the links will be in the description for this episode. Also, you can hit me up, comicbooksavant@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on Instagram or Twitter at comicbooksavant at either place. That's all I have for you guys for this episode. Let me know how you guys are enjoying the show and how you feel about the show at this point. I'm really curious to know. I'm enjoying the show. I'm all in to just I'm in taking it as it comes, but I do feel a slight sense of urgency at this point that I need a little bit more of the bigger story to be revealed to us as we move along, because we only have so many episodes left, and with such limited runtime, I want to maximize as much as the story as possible, that we get a fully fleshed story. I don't want to feel like we like jump cut and we rush through this, and it could have, we could have had just longer episodes, but I guess time will tell as the show plays out. Will they stick it, and will it be paced properly, that you feel like you didn't get shortchanged on the larger story at the end of the day? But time will tell on that. But I'll be back next week for another review of episode 4. But until then, you guys take care of yourself, stay safe, love you all. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.